So like and subscribe if you want to. I did not see this coming. The Rockets have traded Russell Westbrook to the Wizards for John Wall and a first-round pick. I have not seen the specifics on that first-round pick that the Wizards are giving Houston. I'm going to guess there's some sort of protections on it. I would be kind of surprised if the Wizards just gave up an unprotected first. But here we are. Russell Westbrook is on the Wizards. John Wall is on the Rockets. I could end up doing a second video about this, but this is going to be my general thoughts on everything. So a lot happened here in terms of swapping talent and the story of it all. In terms of both teams' contract situations and their salary sheets and all that stuff, not a lot really changed. It was really big contract swapped for really big contract. They both have the same amount of time left on the deals. So it's not like either team's salary and all that's really that different over the next few years. This is really just the Rockets looking at it and saying, well, we have John Wall and a first-round pick, and this is the Wizards saying, we're hoping that Westbrook is just better than John Wall. Now, of course, we did see the thing about how John Wall wanted a trade, and for a moment it looked like it was really a big deal, and then not so much a big deal. They were just going to figure it out, and, well, here we are. I mean, to me, the thing to think about first is Westbrook's fit with the Wizards. I mean, he likes to shoot the ball more than John Wall does, which maybe now takes the whole Bradley Beal, definitely the first option thing in a different direction. I mean, Westbrook is, of course, an amazing passer, and you imagine he's going to be able to run pick and roll and pick and pop with maybe the best shooting team he's ever had to do that. I mean, the Rockets were a better shooting team than the Wizards, but Westbrook didn't run a million pick and rolls, especially because they didn't have a center, right? Whereas now, he has Bryant to set him screens, and Thomas Bryant can pop out to three. Beal, of course, can play off of that, although you want Beal handling the ball himself sometimes. Bertans, yes. Denny, not so much. Denny's not really a spot-up guy, although there's hope that he can be a good shooter because his form is pretty good and all that. Rui, good scorer, not as much of a three-point shooter. And there's Troy Brown Jr., who's also a little bit more of a ball handler. So it's possible that the Wizards are going to have to shuffle around some things, like maybe they're going to look to get a shooting wing in here, that sort of thing. But I do think Westbrook is going to be able to run pick and roll with the most shooting he's ever had. Because, again, in Houston, it was hard in ISOs and no big guy to set screens for Westbrook. So that could be cool. I would say Westbrook is a safer bet when it comes to health. I mean, John Wall, we all know the Achilles stuff and missing a lot of games the past couple seasons when he's actually been out there. And for the sake of Westbrook, I mean, he did have the quad thing, and we'll have to see there. Quads can be dicey, as we've seen from Oladipo and Kawhi. But Tony Parker also had it, and he was pretty all right for the most part. So we'll have to see. But I think you can still say that Westbrook is probably a little safer to be out there all the time than John Wall is. And, I mean, look, for all this talk about Westbrook and declining and whatever, he averaged 27, 8, and 7 last year, and he was trending upwards when the season ended. So the Wizards could have gotten themselves a really, really awesome player here who's going to be healthier than the guy they had before. And I guess the fear is just that Westbrook is going to take too many shots away from Bradley Beal. But even then, Beal should be able to play off of what Westbrook does. Now, when Beal is running his stuff and Westbrook is playing off of that, I mean, how long have we wanted Westbrook to set screens and cut to the basket and stuff? It just hasn't really happened like that. So I don't know if we should be expecting that, but in terms of what Russ can do with the ball in his hands, you'd hope that for the Wizards' sake, this could be an improvement and a safer bet health-wise and all that stuff. But of course, they did still give up a first, and again, I have not seen exactly what it is, but if they gave up an unprotected first here, then that could be pretty dicey. If we think about Westbrook and how long can he still be good, I don't know. I mean, he's still really, really athletic. You would imagine as long as his jump shot doesn't fall apart too hard, which it could, then he could still be all right. But I mean, he's definitely trending in the wrong direction in terms of three-point shooting, which of course matters. I think we might be able to see his free throw attempts go up again here because, well, I just figure he's going to be doing a lot with the ball, more so with Houston, or than with Houston. So yeah, for the Wizards, or for the Rockets, excuse me, they got a pick. Again, we'll have to see what the exact thing on the pick is. I hope the pick hasn't actually been shown somewhere. I don't know what it is. But for Houston's sake, I mean, I don't know. Westbrook really wanted out. And with John Wall, they're banking on him being healthy. They're banking on him being able to run pick and roll with Christian Wood and DeMarcus Cousins, pick and pop with those guys as well. You would hope that perhaps John Wall being a little more of a pass-first guy than Westbrook would result in Harden being forced, maybe not forced, but being coaxed into playing off of the ball a little bit more and having a little bit more movement. And could we actually see like some James Harden off-ball screens or some pin downs or cutting to the basket or whatever? I'm not really sure. I mean, James Harden has played one type of way for so long that he might not be able to do anything else at this point. But maybe John Wall just being a little more pass first than Westbrook could result in that being a little bit more of a thing. Do we think John Wall is a safe bet health-wise? No. 32 games played in 2019, 41 in 2018. Had the Achilles thing that kept him out for all of 2019-20. There's a chance John Wall is just some like 15-point guy coming back who doesn't have the burst and doesn't have the lift. And also his free throw percentages went down the past 2 years as well, whereas usually John Wall was a pretty consistent free throw shooter. So perhaps Houston just looked at this and was like, look, there's no way that we can go into the season with Westbrook and Harden. It's going to be way too awkward. It's just not going to work. So let's get a guy who is one of the few dudes we can actually trade Westbrook for, and we're going to get a pick out of it, and we'll just hope for the best. Because from a pure basketball standpoint, I don't know if there's anybody projecting John Wall to be as good or better than Westbrook moving forward. He is a little younger than Westbrook, so that could matter. But yeah, this came out of freaking nowhere, man. Does this say anything about James Harden? I don't really think so. I feel like the writing on the wall is still pretty much there, which is Houston's got one last-ditch effort to convince James to stay. And even then, let's say this season goes well, I don't think it's a guarantee that Harden is going to be on the Rockets for the last season of his contract. Now, of course, there's all the stuff about, well, is the team going to want to trade for him when he's about to hit free agency? Yeah, that's all going to become a thing. But for the sake of Houston, they would need something really, really wild happening to convince Harden to sign another contract for them. I mean, I think it would have to be John Wall comes back and is like first 4 or 5 years in the league, John Wall good, where he was like one of the best defenders in the league, on top of being an awesome playmaker and constantly getting to the basket and all that stuff. Christian Wood's stretch for the Pistons would have to be super real, and he would probably have to still be a little better than that. DeMarcus Cousins would have to bounce back a bit. Like, a lot of things have to go well for Houston, and I think it's fair to be cynical about all those things going well for them. Although I do think Christian Wood could be pretty good, and I do think Boogie could at least be an NBA player, but there's a difference between it going okay and being like, oh my goodness, this is a totally different situation now. So, yeah. But hey, they got a pick from the Wizards, so that's cool.